idea has been generating a lot of concerns and reactions across the board. Uh, let's start from the beginning. Walk us through the blueprint produced the idea of the farmers cooperatives in Nigeria.
Well, talking about the blueprint is the vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCF, our President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who in his manifesto and campaign promise to Nigerians indicated that the cooperative sector is a very powerful tool that will be used to mobilize farmers and other cooperators for the purpose of ensuring not just national food security, but engendering economic growth because of the nature and the model of cooperative itself, and also creating employment, promoting inclusivity, and the like. So basically, this particular effort that we are pursuing in the ministry is the brainchild and vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because he has shown total commitment to it, and it is our duty as his foot soldiers to see that that comes to light in Nigeria.
Beautiful. So then, how much control, I want to see how the cooperatives are being run, how much control do the farmers themselves have in owning and organizing these cooperatives?
Well, you are asking the question as though the cooperative itself that we're talking about is sitting properly. It's not. And that's why we are having a reform and revamp program. A renewed hope, cooperative reform and revamp program. The idea here is that the sector has suffered so much neglect over the past years, and it's not actually been the subject of core discussions until now. And so what we are doing now is we have, since last year, been engaging with stakeholders with a view to understanding what the core problems are. And the idea here is for us to come up with very workable, practical, feasible ideas that will allow us to reform the cooperative sector and revamp it in terms of its role. You may recall that in the early years of our nation as an independent state, agriculture was in the forefront. Cooperatives played a very powerful role during this period. And in particular in the Southwest, for example, everybody knows what the cooperative societies did. And cooperative societies have now become a national thing. Now, but the question is, are they where they're supposed to be? When you compare cooperative society in Nigeria with other countries, like Kenya, like Ethiopia, like in the European nation, Germany, or even the entire European countries, or even in Asia, India, even China.
Yes, we'll come to that peer review.
So the point I'm making here is that we know we are not where we ought to be. And that is why the vision of the president is that, look, it's time for us to bring cooperative to where they ought to be. Because the business model of the cooperative society is very powerful. It promotes growth, it promotes community, it promotes inclusivity, and it also promotes what you would call inclusive prosperity. And I think that is why it's a very powerful tool, and that's why we are taking it very seriously. And so far, we have done quite a lot since last year. We had a ministerial technical working group made up of different stakeholder groups in the country, including Nigerians in the diaspora, who have seen the value of cooperatives in the various countries in which they are residing. And through that technical working group, we've been able to understand so many things. Now, the next stage was for us to have, workshops, to have stakeholder engagement, at the same time capacity building. So we started this with Kaduna, where we have the Cooperative College Kaduna for the northern zone, made up of the northwest, northeast, and north central. And here we looked at trustees of cooperative societies, managers and operators of cooperative society as our target participants. Accordingly, all the directors of cooperatives of all of the states, the presidents of the cooperative federations of those states, were all brought together in that engagement. We finished with Kaduna and moved on to Oji River, where we had engagement with the South-South and then the Southeast. And then the last one was Federal Cooperative College Ibadan, where we had engagement with cooperators in the Southeast. So having done this, we now move to the next stage, which is a business, a study tour of the cooperative sector in Kenya. And here we are grateful to the European Union, who helped to provide the fund for members of this particular study tour.
Kenya.
To Kenya.
Okay.
It just came back yesterday.
Beautiful. Okay.
Is it on Sunday? They came back on Sunday.
Okay, I'm glad you spoke about the business model of the cooperatives. As a matter of fact, that's why I started with the blueprint that produced that idea. I wanted to see the true state of health before carrying on to other things. So, speak to us then about the model and resource management when the cooperatives finally get to where they want it to be.
First, if you look at the cooperative society, it's more or less a voluntary collection of people who have shared ideas and who believe in each other and who come in to contribute their participation democratically. And so the control by one individual, unlike in the other business model where you have the capitalist approach to resource mobilization, with one person having the highest equity, in the cooperative sector, everybody is a player. If you participate, you have your role to play, and everything is done democratically. Now, what we noticed is the fact that in many countries where cooperative societies have taken hold, they have remained the most consistent mobilizers of resources. And even when there are financial crises, they are able to stay the tide because they are resilient by the nature. They are not out for maximum profit as in the other areas, and so their risks are not too heavy, and so they are cautionary, but yet they make substantial progress. So within this context, you agree with me. I think even here in Nigeria, our local people understand what cooperatives are. When they come together to contribute money for different causes and to cater for their communities, all of these things are things that we require right now. In the face of resource constraints, the cooperative societies, if given the enabling environment and brought together, are capable of generating billions and billions in capital. And I think that is where we are heading to. But we are looking at the health of the cooperative society as it is right now. It's not where it ought to be because the regulatory framework is weak. And in the various stakeholder engagement we've had, it is one of the major issues. Because where there are crises, there's supposed to be dispute resolution mechanism. This dispute resolution mechanism constitutes part of the regulatory framework, and it is weak. There are supposed to be also supervision and monitoring to ensure that erring cooperative societies are able to be brought online or brought to book. All of these things are weak. So in fact, as a matter of fact, the Cooperative Act, the Cooperative Societies Act, made provision for a regulation that will clarify all of these issues. One has not been approved up to now in Nigeria. So if we're doing that now, we're going to do that for the first time under the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And we're surely going to do that because we are working on that.
Beautiful. You sound very optimistic. I want to come back to that, but I'm still not clear. About the framework, the blueprint, the framework. Even you keep going back to the framework, the management, and
the framework is simple. Cooperative societies, there is a law. Yes, Nigeria has a law, but this law requires review, and there are many aspects of it that are going to be reviewed. And I will tell you as a matter of fact that even within the ministry, we had another program that is reviewing the entire laws in the agricultural sector. And the Cooperative Society Act is one of those they have reviewed.
Yes.
I just met the team yesterday, but at the level of the technical working group also that I set up, the ministerial technical working group, they've also reviewed the cooperative law and have brought out areas where we're supposed to have amendment. Now there's another team also in the office of the Vice President, the Special Assistant on what they call Development Finance and Financial Inclusion, 2 senior special assistants to Mr. President, but in the office of the Vice President, together with the Cooperative Society of Nigeria, have also reported to me efforts they have made towards the review of the Act, which shows you that everybody is concerned that the law, given the number of years it's been in operation, requires a review to bring it to reality in line with the global best practice for cooperative management. And that is exactly what we're going to do. Now, basically, it is saying that yes, we can have cooperative societies, both at the federal level and at the state level. And there are different types of cooperative societies, both primary, secondary, or even industrial cooperative societies that can be put in place. And we have also realized that there is an institutional weakness in those operating the cooperative society. So what we have done now is to make sure within the cooperative ecosystem, we're able to bring all the best brain together so that anywhere there is weakness, we're able to use the best hands to strengthen the area where there is weakness. And I think the Federal Department of Cooperative is enjoying this act. In fact, for the first time in the history of this country, I don't think anybody has ever appointed a special assistant on cooperative. This is the first time we're doing that, because the president believes we should bring in people who can help us to do the task. Right. And I saw a young man who is very vibrant, who is very enthusiastic about the cooperative sector, and I brought him on board to support this journey. And this is how far, that's why we are able to get some mileage. Now, this is because the president also believes in the young people. He believes in young people. And so we are doing this, to ensure that we are able to get to that level in which people can now see that yes, the cooperative society can be a very powerful pathway to our economic prosperity. And before now, there has been many cooperative societies that we call, get registration by hook or crook or whatever. Some don't even have registration, but they will give themselves that name, and the unsuspecting public will believe them, go into business with them, and before they know what's happening, they are off the market. So those fake ghost kind of scammers, I think we're saying it's time to pack shop, because there's no more time, no more space for them. With the intention we are having to review this act, have the regulatory framework in terms of the regulations and even rules, because they can also have rules. And for those that are actually big, the idea of corporate governance is also another thing that we have seen. And in many other countries where they have very huge cooperative society, because even in Nigeria, we have, somebody told me about, I won't mention names, but there are cooperative societies that have more than 30 billion in their coffers. So, and that is why, as part of also the new model we are looking at having a national cooperative bank to be run, to be owned by cooperative societies, run by cooperative societies. The only difference here is the fact that yes, in spite of all of this, they will still be compliant to the Bank and Other Financial Institutions Act, BOFIA, as they call it. Because even the Cooperative Societies Act said so. If we are going to have a bank, it has to comply to BOFIA. So that much we know, and we are working on all of this. So at the end, what is our vision? We are looking at the vision of a cooperative societies that will be highly mobilized, well-resourced, with skilled managing, cooperators, and because we are also, one of the recommendations too is that we should professionalize cooperative. So that if you are a professional cooperator, the management of a cooperative society will be done in accordance with the cooperative principles. Because the difference here is that in the cooperative society, they are not out for huge profit. Their concern is the welfare of their members, the interest of their members, why their members came together. So for that reason, they will focus on achieving that. And that is why it's important we have professionals who understand the cooperative principles, who understand the cooperative values. They are going to stick to the cooperative principles, they are going to stick to the cooperative values, and ensure that it is a system that is for cooperators, owned by cooperators, and run by cooperators for cooperators.
Interesting. I must say, Honourable Minister, that you're such an interviewer's delight because you touch all the areas that I had in mind. In any case, I want to talk about crisis management vis-a-vis facility performance in the cooperatives. How then do you ensure that the facilities are performing, and where there is a default, something else is done to checkmate a recurrence?
Remember, in cooperative societies, it's not about equity, it's about participation. So if you are a cooperator and you are participating in a cooperative society, whatever you are going to get is going to be based on your level of participation. Now, what that means is that we want a situation where there is proper oversight and supervision, which I told you the framework for that is now currently weak. In fact, for that reason, one of the components of the cooperative reform and revamp will be the digitalization of cooperative data, to have all the cooperative societies, both at federal and subnational level, being registered digitally, such that there is, it's easy for us to index, because you can have identifiers in terms of identification for their registration and all of those. And some of the states have already started doing that. So it's going to be much easier for us when we come to integrate and bring a whole of Nigeria cooperative database. That way, if you decide to move somewhere to go and play some shady deals, by simple data entry, you can be seen. So that will also enable the reportage, because one of the principles is that annual returns are supposed to be made by cooperative societies, telling the state of the cooperative society, what they have been able to save, what they are dealing with. That way, if there is this constant reportage, you can easily sniff out potential scam or fraud by operators of the cooperative society. So these are the things we are trying to introduce. And the good thing is that all the subnationals, the state directors, are very passionate about all of this. In fact, the feedback most of the things I'm saying here are feedback coming from them. So it's when we are done with that, then we'll be putting in place all of these things in a very robust strategic plan that will tell us the journey, because the vision of President Bola Tinubu for the cooperative sector is clear. And when we reviewed what the cooperative sector is capable of doing, it is obvious that the cooperative sector can actually deliver on all of the 8-point agenda of the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu. If you say food security, cooperative societies are very powerful when it comes to agricultural production, both in terms of production, processing, marketing, and even consumption. Because they are also across each of these value chain, you will find them. Now, and it's easier, like we have seen in many places, for you to use the cooperative societies to even distribute your inputs, because they have a way of making sure inputs get to their members. This is what they do. This is their strength. So the cooperative sectors for food security is a very powerful tool. If you look at economic activity, they generate a lot of contribution from their members, and they participate in many, off-farm economic activities on behalf of their members, promoting what? Productivity of the economic sector. In the process, employment, jobs are created. So yet again, the renewed hope agenda of economic growth and job creation, the cooperative sectors can play a very powerful role there. When you talk about inclusivity, this is their hope, because anybody who is interested in his growth and identifies with a group becomes a member of cooperative society. Entry and exit is not hindered. And so at the end of the day, that is dealing with the issue of inclusivity. And so you have various areas where people are able to do that, both at village level, at local government level, at state level, at federal level.
Even people that are on PANs.
Yes, even yes. Yeah. Now, you are talking about financial inclusion. It's also another very powerful tool for financial inclusion. So, and that is why we felt it is time for them to have their bank, like we have seen in other, clients. Now, the other aspect is you talk about poverty alleviation, or part of the agenda. Yes, when you have very powerful cooperative societies, many people are able to get economic activities that they want to do because they've taken some funds from their cooperative society to do what they know how to do. All of this, and therefore they are able to, take themselves out of poverty. You understand? Mm-hmm. So, and if you look at anti-corruption, the basis driver of corruption is simply people wanting to cut corners. Mm-hmm. If you are a cooperative society member, you know that you participate, your reward is guaranteed. And so it's capable of also getting people to be more productive, and in the process, they will begin to shun corruption, because if you have your mind and you are having a very, very veritable tool that will get you whatever you are looking for, the idea of wanting to cut corners is brought down drastically. And of course, security. What is the cause of insecurity? Poverty, lack of job. So if all of these are done, then you'll be contributing in preventing people who will now be, scammed or mobilized by the, bad gangs into, insecurity activities. So to me, I think the president just got it, like they say, he got it right at the joint in saying that we should work on the cooperative sector within the ambit of this renewed hope agenda for Nigeria.
Beautiful. These are really ambitious claims and hopes, talking about even having a plan for them. I'll come back to that. Yeah. Yet again, let's look at...
okay, sorry, you talked about crisis management.
Yes.
I think the issue around crisis management is simple. The moment the cooperative societies stick to the principles of cooperative societies, okay, that is, they are run democratically, no one group or person is having an overbearing influence over what they do, they know how they operate, they are, what do they call, the equal partners, there is equity, everybody is a contributor, participation is guaranteed, then the idea of crisis becomes less. But be that as it may, any human endeavor potentially has crisis. And that's why a regulation ought to be in place that will define clearly crisis resolution mechanism. And I think that is the point that we are trying to now have, because like I told you, we've never had. My findings showed that there was an attempt, a draft was made, but it never passed beyond that. This time around, that is some number of years back. But this time around, we want a regulation and rules that will speak to the current realities of the cooperative society. So the cooperative society are supposed to have their own internal dispute mechanism. But most importantly also, both at the federal level and the state level, we're expecting to see a new mechanism of crisis resolution for the cooperative societies based on the rules that is going to come out as a consequence or a subsidiary legislation to the Cooperative Act.
Okay, that's well said. All right. You talked about database. We know that an existing challenge in the farming sector is having a correct database for farmers. Then can you tell us how many cooperative societies do we have across the country? Do you have the number?
Well, we don't have that collegial, but of course, different states have told us. For example, we are in Ibadan, and Oyo State told us they have about 47,000 or thereabout.
47,000.
Yes, but that they have only about
members of societies.
Yes, various societies, different cooperative societies, but they also spoke to the fact that not up to 20,000 are active. I think they are about 10,000 or thereabout that they talked about being active. So these are the issues, and it's because over time people have lost hope. One of the issues is that in the cooperative societies, some managers or executives of the cooperative society will do some shady deals and run the resources down, but nobody is holding them to account because the mechanism for doing that is weak or even non-existent. So if we bring in a new mechanism and we're able to train professional cooperators who are able to oversee and supervise all of this process, we have every conviction from the reports available to us that it's going to work because it has worked before. And that is where we are banking our hope, because we believe they are a veritable tool for resource mobilization and for economic growth and prosperity.
Currently, do you also have a figure, something close to it, what the cooperative societies are generating as we speak?
These are part of the challenges we met on ground. No one can give you any single figure. Everything is just, maybe, what do they call it, estimated. Assumptions. But like I told you, I know of the big cooperative societies, especially what we call the institutional cooperative societies, where they are staffers of big corporations in the country, or big ministries or agencies, and their staff have formed a cooperative society. They are contributing from their salary amount of money. Those ones are actually doing very well. And like I told you, in one of them, I was told they have more than 36 billion in their reserve.
36 billion?
Yeah. And some even have more than that. So the question is, if you check the capacity for resource mobilization is high, because it's contribution. And if you are able to guarantee, at the end of the day, any day somebody wants, you will go in there. And that's why if you go to many agencies, if you ask, you will see many staff will tell you, I got my car because I took a loan from my cooperative. The interest is just to cover the cost. It's not as if they are out to make huge amount of money. Yes, they make some profit, which they can later share to members as dividend. But then they are not in the mode of the real commercial capitalist model, where it's profit maximization. Here it is mobilization or maximization of the interest of members. That is what they are after. And that is why it becomes a very powerful tool. And we are convinced that given the scale of what we have seen, different states, if you take, for example, the capacity to have more than 10,000 or even 20,000, you can imagine the number of cooperative societies per state. But remember, they have very number of members, and each by the act, if you are 10, you can form cooperative societies, and there are some that have triple or many folds of such numbers as their members. So I think for us, it's something that has been left out there, yet it is something that has proven in many climes to be very powerful. And that's why the vision of the president, as far as the cooperative society is concerned, is also novel, and we want to really score many first with respect to that. Let me shed quickly this light. I know many people will be saying, yeah, but there was a cooperative bank before. Yes, in the beginning of our independence there was. But those who saw what it is told us in no mistaken term that it was the moment they started wanting to be like capitalists, like the normal bank, that cooperative bank collapsed.
It's actually coming there because when you mentioned having a cooperative bank, I wanted to see the mode of operation. I wanted you to walk me through how it would function, and then it wouldn't later become one of the existing commercial banks.
All right. You see, issue is this. Yes, it's going to be a cooperative society. Okay? And if it's registered as a cooperative society, which is a bank, it's going to operate on the basis of the principles of cooperative societies. But that because it is a bank, it also must comply to the bank and other financial institutions. It will also comply to all the anti-corruption, all the due diligence, and what do they call it, data governance, and everything that modernity has brought in terms of managing public resources. But then it is going to be guided by what? The cooperative principles. That is why we are saying it's going to be owned by who? Cooperative societies. So when it is time, various cooperative societies will be subscribing. Remember, when you seek membership, then you now begin to make your contribution. It is a contribution that can determine what benefit you can also get. That is your participation. Do you understand? So that is what we envisaged. And at the end of the day, given the level of capital mobilization these cooperative societies have, then you can imagine. In fact, one of the participants in the Southwest Zonal Meet clearly said, we don't want capitalist fund, we don't want government fund. Cooperative societies exist. If we get the subscription, we have the number to meet whatever capital is required for us to have a bank. So in this, what it means is that the operation, because they are going to be bankers to various cooperative societies. That's where they're going to get their strength from. And so whatever they're going to do, they are not going to go for that risky, high net worth profit ventures. No. They take limited risk because their members are not interested in profit maximization. That's the difference.
Honorable Minister, since we started this chat, I've had this in my mind, and I've been having a mental image of an average cooperative society. I imagine a young graduate of maybe agroeconomy or animal science who is a farmer, and perhaps a woman who didn't even go to school, who is also a farmer, being in the same cooperative society. Enlighten me, how will that relationship, interaction look like in an average cooperative society? How do they manage one another in that regard? Social class.
Are they able to come together? From what you are saying, if I get you right, they are able to come together. The fact that they are able to come together means that they have something binding them. And what is binding them will also be anchored on trust. The moment there is trust, the man that does not see depends on the man that sees. And within the concept of cooperative society, trust is
essential.
Very, 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 very essential. And members believe in themselves. And that's why you see, if you are familiar with the local environment, as some of us are, you will notice in the local environment, in a neighborhood, for example, women are very good in this cooperative. The informal one, which they call the susu or adashi. They'll come together like 10, 15, 20 of them. They have a leader who coordinates this. They sit down together and agree on the principles of engagement. I bet you, anybody that defaults, they take the person out. That's why they are surviving. That's why the thing never dies. You only hear a sect has collapsed, but not the entire sect. Because they know how to weed out the bad ones among themselves And they'll say, no, we're not going to do with you. Last time, this is what you did for us. And people who default in this climb, in this type of scenario, they take long before they get any group that will accept them. So, whether you are carrying PhD and this person is just a vulcanizer, the moment you agree to cooperate together, the principles are there. And that is why the professional managers are the guiding principle. And that explains why I said we need to professionalize the cooperative sector. We need to have professional cooperators who understand accounting for cooperative societies, who understand administration for cooperative society, who understand marketing for cooperative society, who understand production system for cooperative society. Because the principles of cooperative society is the key binder of what you call a cooperative society. That is the key differentiator. And so for us, we are looking at this thing from a totally holistic perspective. And the work we have done this far, we are very confident that we will soon be unleashing one of the most powerful tools that has been underutilized or neglected in our economic drive for prosperity.
Thank you very much. I'd like to move to another subject. Is there anything about the cooperative society that you'd like to talk about that I haven't asked you?
One of the things I would like to say is this. We are mobilizing across the entire ecosystem. We have very, very responsible, passionate, and patriotic cooperators who are out there who believed in the cooperative movement, have worked for the cooperative movement, did not give up on the cooperative movement, have been praying for this day when somebody who knows the value of cooperative will come on board. And I think these people have told us in no mistaken terms that this new vision of the president for the cooperative society is a very, very welcome development for them. And like one of them said, I'm happy I'm seeing this in my lifetime. I thought I would die in frustration because nobody, no government has looked in the way of the cooperative sector. But now I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm here participating in how this is going to be realized. So for him, he said he's a fulfilled person. So I think it's something that looks very, very unusual because before now, nobody talks about it. Yet it's there. They're just trying their best in their own little way, struggling here and there, no support, no this, no that. So we are working very hard on that. And the professionalization of the cooperative society is going to be done in such a manner that the cooperators themselves will be in the driving seat of all of these things. Because you see, if you know the value of something and you are asked to manage it, you will dearly, very passionately manage it and protect it. But if you bring somebody who doesn't understand, because they are seeing like new oil coming on board, then anything can happen. And so we want to protect that. We want to make effort to see that in every single clan, we develop people and give them the orientation, because it's about orientation. The moment you have the cooperative mindset and orientation, then you understand how to run the cooperative societies. And remember, it's a global movement. And that's why I told you, interestingly, even in the days of the financial meltdown of 2009, it was realized that in Germany, for example, it was the cooperative societies that showed resilience. They endured, and they were the ones that are able to help to bring back the financial sector. So we have done our bit, and we're still doing our bit. We have seen the potentials of what we want to do. We've seen the pathway, and we're going to do just that to ensure that Nigeria benefits. At any rate, Nigerians are very hardworking people, and the young cooperators, the young citizens we're having now, we need to encourage them to understand the powerful tool that the cooperatives have to represent. They have resources they can pull together in the spirit of cooperatives and use that to achieve so many of their dreams. And I think we are working very hard to make sure that tool is available for them. I think as part of the stakeholder engagement, the Federal Cooperative College, we laid the foundation stone for a youth cooperative innovation hub in that college, which will be available for young Nigerians to go in there and create innovative products within the spirit and letters of the cooperative movement. And we believe it is something doable. In fact, in the review, I remember discussing with the service provider that look, you need to make this Gen Z compliant, make it compliant to what the young Nigerians want. And we're doing it within this period. We know exactly what they want. We need to make sure that it resonates with what they want. And if it does, all this hanging out that they do as a group can generate cooperative ideas that they can use and drive so many powerful products that they can use to make their life better. That's the whole thing about cooperative societies. And so within that context, if you look at the agricultural sector, from production across how you transport food, cooperative societies play a role there. And young Nigerians can play a role there. How you process, how you create innovative products out of our food system. There's a lot of room for cooperative societies. So it's just to teach the young Nigerians how all of this is being. In fact, in one of the engagements in Oju River, the young cooperators who are in school, we had a very robust engagement with them. And what they asked for was something similar. And I think I remember having to now give the order to the, what do they call it, the provost, to ensure that they develop a center with availability of data where cooperators can come in and share ideas and create ideas. So which is exactly what we have now formalized in Ibadan.
Beautiful, congratulations to you on that. As I move on to other subjects in this chat, I'm really looking forward to the Cooperatives Bank, and I would dare say that might be one of the major achievements of your tenure, if you see it through, if you're able to see it through in your time. So how soon is that coming on board?
Well, like I said, we had a plan, and we're still, of course, our milestones have been achieved one step at a time. We had a team that went for the international, study tour, so that we're able to have proper international comparison. And they just came back this Sunday, so the report will be in this week, and then we're hoping in the next couple of days we're going to look at the window where we're going to bring all these stakeholders together again, because one of the beauty about cooperative societies is that it is run based on participation, engagement, and mobilization of members, and is open, transparent, and accountable. So what we want to do is to call this stakeholder group again. All the state directors of cooperatives, all the presidents of the state cooperative federations, all the various Apex cooperative societies, Cooperative Federation of Nigeria, and all the other ones that are playing critical role, together with the Federal Department of Cooperative here. We want to call ourselves together. And like I told you, we stumbled on those who showed tangential interest in what we're doing. The Senior Special Assistant on, what do they call it, Development Finance, and the Senior Special Assistant or Senior Special Assistant to Mr. President on Financial Inclusion. All of them have shown capacity. So we're going to get across. The CBN will be reaching out to them to give us a hand so that they are able to see what we're doing, because no matter what we do here, we'll still get back to them with what compliance requirement for a banking license. So we're going to register the bank. The registration of the bank is by the Cooperative Act, but then because it's going to be registered as a society, cooperative society. So if it's registered, then, but all of this requires certain steps. First, the final national stakeholder workshop, where we'll look at all of these issues. Then we'll have the National Council on Cooperative Affairs. After that, then it will be time for me to make presentation to the Federal Executive Council for certain things that needs approval. And when we're able to do that, then all of these things will begin to take a hold. Remember, government is to create the enabling environment. So the enabling environment will be the review of the act, and we are convinced beyond reasonable doubt that the 10th National Assembly will give us maximum support when an executive bill, for example, is brought before them for the amendment of the Cooperative Act. And then we will also have a regulation pursuant to that particular Cooperative Act. Then thereafter, all the states will now begin to have the process of ensuring that all of the things were agreed as a sector will be applicable in their own country, because they have their own part also to make sure that within the ambit of the independence of the subnationals, they are able to do those things that will enable them to also regulate their cooperative societies. So I think we have a pathway, and so if I sit here and tell you, oh, in the next 1 month, in the next 2 months, I think that will be a bit uncharitable. But all I just want to say is that we are working very hard, and I know that before the end of this year, a number of these things that I've talked about will begin to see the light of the day.
Thank you very much. Let me move to other things. Whether if you happen to remember any other thing about the cooperatives, you can still bring me back to it. Now, coincidentally, yesterday was International Plant Health Day, and plant health is determined to a large extent by soil health. Let's have a closer look at soil health in Nigeria.
Yeah, but let's not ignore plant health.
Yeah, we'll come back to that, but then,
yeah, because the plant health we talked about, yes, it's incidentally because of the changes where the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development was created and 2 departments have moved out. We are having a Department of Plant Health and Pest Control Services to show that we are now repositioning the ministry to be able to deal squarely with the idea of plant health. But like you said, yes, the beginning of everything is the soil, that land where you plant. Or even if you go soilless, in quote as they call it, it's not soilless, because it's the soil that tells you these are the things that I have, that when you plant, this plant is able to grow and give you what you want. Now those who are doing soilless are always saying that, okay, we'll take the nutrient and leave the soil, the silica and all the other components that make soil, and then we'll put it in a medium, and through tube and other method, we'll be able to have what they call the controlled environment agriculture. So basically, we realize that if we are to achieve national food security, and as we speak today, national food sovereignty, that is taking our food system not to depend on external sources, to the extent that if those sources are cut off, then our food security is threatened. So we're not saying we cannot supplement or complement, but let it not be the main source. That's when it is when you have that on a sustainable basis that you say you have food sovereignty. So in terms of that, we realize that we need to increase productivity of our farmers. And the call to productivity is, yes, you say you need improved seeds, but even if you have the improved seeds, you must plant it in the right soil, with the right nutrient, and right agronomic practices in terms of how you tend to eat, how you cater for it, how you weed out, and the like. So we believe, based on this, that we need to look at our soil health. Some soils are acidic, and beyond that, also farmers are wasting fertilizer. The common method of fertilizer application in Nigeria is broadcasting. A farmer will just carry it and just be throwing it inside. It's wastage. Yet he counts all of those costs and pass it on to his product, making it very expensive in the market. So our aim is to do things that will help to reduce the production cost to farmers while enhancing productivity. That is, less input, more output. Okay? So that is why we came up with the idea of the National Farmers Soil Health Scheme. We came up with this since 2003, and then subsequently by 2024 in Nairobi, Kenya, the African Union made a declaration that soil health should be a priority. So you see, we are quite in place and we're quite ahead. So we have been working on that, and we are working to see any moment from now we're going to finalize. We're just crossing the dots, and a lot of work has happened. We have created a framework, we have created a platform, so that under this program, anybody who has a farm, we can check the health of his soil in that farm, give him a card that gives him all the key things he needs to know, provide some advisory for him on when to plant and all those things, and most importantly, the kind of fertilizer he should apply. So the idea here is that this will now enable our fertilizer production manufacturers and then blenders to begin to produce what we call site-specific or crop-specific fertilization.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Making it possible for us to also reduce cost and make it affordable for the Nigerian farmer to be able to have the right fertilizer and to have the right method of application. And overall, the moment we're able to produce more, then we'll be able to balance the idea of the high price and prevent our citizens from crying under the yes. So that is what we intend to do.
Thank you very much indeed. Because of your time, I think it's the right place to draw the curtains. In fact, I was going to ask factors responsible for poor soil health and what we could do, but you've touched all the areas. And indeed, I can tell you I have a lot of materials to last me to the last quarter of the year. So maybe I should just book another time with you to come again in the last quarter of the year if you're available.
You're welcome at any time.
Thank you very much indeed on this. Thank you for your time.